Evening and welcome with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Well, he directed it and I produced it and we wrote it together.
Together, indeed.
Yeah.
So, talking about writing together, you wrote that in family, and did you all the time agreed about everything in the script, or sometimes you didn't agree and you had to find a compromise?
No, there was some compromise at one point, but there was like mostly things that we ¿cómo se dice?
Agreed on.
agreed on, and there was I really can't remember any like disagreement, but there was some. Anyway, it was much worse later. When,
At
when
what point?
other ideas, there's other figures in this movie, and I mean we're happy we made it this way, but we can't avoid there's a studio and there's Guillermo and there's a big producer and there's ideas and notes and stuff. So yes, the bigger battles came later, if that's a way to put it.
We grew up together, so we saw the same movies. We have pretty similar tastes, so I think it's we were going
Bad taste, that is.
bad taste. We were going in one
Good reference.
direction. We were going in one direction with the film, so that was pretty clear for us.
But how does the writing process work? How do you write together? Do you sit together at a table, or do you exchange ideas afterwards?
Well, I would say that I would start the story. So the design is mine and the structure, and then we would split some of the scenes, and that's roughly what it is.
Well, you mentioned Guillermo del Toro, who helped to produce this film. How did it happen that you met him, and how did he get involved in this film?
He saw the short film because Guillermo watches like hundreds of shorts a year, and he's like always like looking for stuff because he's a producer too. He has like a lot of things going at the same time. He's very prolific, and he's like he can't stay still. He's a guy that he's constantly creating and has like a lot of projects going on, not only because it's his nature, but because he knows the business very well, and he knows that everything can fail at one point. And keeping that in mind, he has like a lot of projects like on different like drawers. So if something falls, like it happened to him with The Hobbit, Mountains of Madness. So for him, it's an experience of like keeping like a lot of dishes spinning to go.
So he saw
with
the
one.
short, and he wanted to do a feature film with you.
Yes. So going back to the short, he saw the short film. He liked it a lot apparently, and he called us.
He called us and he said, I want to help you guys to make this film, and we can make it in Spanish or in English or in Chinese. I don't care, but I'll help you get it made. So that's exactly what he did. And it took us a while to figure out the structure. It took us a while to figure out if we were going to make it as a smaller film in Spanish or if we were going to make it as a bigger film in English. And we ended up deciding for the slightly bigger film in English. So we found a Canadian co-producer, and we made it as a Spanish-Canadian co-production. And then hand in hand with our distributor, Universal, who really, has a huge role in the success of the film, because they really supported it and pushed it to the max.
They believed in the movie.
Sorry?
The distributor, they believed in the movie.
They believe in the movie 100%. I mean, the meetings, we started going to marketing meetings early on, and I think it was something like October, and it's great when you feel that, they're really for it, because, this is our first experience, but it must be so painful when you've given so much of yourself, of your life, for 3 years, nothing but the film, and then, no one cares about it. I can't even imagine that. So we were very lucky in that sense that they loved the film. We were very lucky that we cast Jessica too, because Jessica, she did our movie and she was one person, and by the time the movie was edited, Jessica was a different person, in stardom. So that helped us a lot. It was a combination of elements, but we were very lucky.
And the short movie was intended as a demo from the beginning, or was it more like exercise and then it grew from there?
It has no purpose. It had no purpose at that time. It was just a sequence that came up, and then it was like very pure the way I saw it, and I said, why not like do it just like that with that amount of purity, but in a film way, like in one shot, building up the suspense, and then the chase and everything. It had no purpose. It was.
I'm gonna correct it. It had a purpose. The purpose was to show that you could direct something spooky, because
I don't agree that much with that.
Come on.
Well, we have to say that we are two different persons and we have two brains, and believe it or not. So you might think some things that I don't.
No, but we do commercials, and Andy directs comedy. So we wanted to do something that showed that he could do something spooky.
And it worked.
Well,
that's
the producers.
I saw it, and it was really spooky.
Thank you. But you can see that that's sort of a producer's interpretation.
He was just doing it for fun, and I was doing it to make a movie. Actually, that's.
Well, eventually it became a piece to support a different, because the style of it was very much the style that we were thinking for this other movie that we were writing at that time, which was called The Yearning, which is a different ghost story. It's different movie, a different story, but it had the style was the same. So Mama was a piece of support for that. It eventually became that, even though it didn't have a purpose on the birth. But people insisted on Mama. People wanted to know what Mama was about. And when we created Mama, there was no backstory. There wasn't anything. So it was a challenge to flesh it out.
Well, actually, I spent some time in Latin America, and there you hear a lot about this myth or ghost story of the weeping woman, La Llorona. Yeah. Does it have anything to do with this?
No, because we're from Argentina, and that's like far away from Mexico, which is where La Llorona comes from. Even though there's another legends and myths, Argentina is very rich in mythology, especially in the center of the country. A lot of there's some figures that mimic and echo the La Llorona, but not quite. But I have to say that it's not something that we took in account when we thought of Mama.
But we can see in the film that there's really a big part of the feeling of the motherhood in the film. Was it that something you wanted to talk about? The person, a woman doesn't want to be a mother, is forced to be a mother, and can she be a mother? Actually, it's the role of Jessica.
Well, it's a very interesting trait of the character, and the curve of that character makes it dramatically very interesting. It was more of an effect of our first instinct, which was I'm fascinated by the natural process of imprinting, and the reverse of that, which is like the response of that, which is the birth of a protective instinct. Those two things that are processes of nature are very compelling to me and Barbara, and I found we found a way to put it into a story that also had like a supernatural context.
And also, I think a theme in the film that talks about that is that there's this female instinct to protect, to mother, to the point that there's two mothers in the film that are actually fighting for these kids that are not theirs. You know, they're not theirs. So, you know.
I can see even three.
Yeah.
There's the aunt.
The third one, the real one, we decided to
The
minimize.
poor aunt.
Est-ce qu'il y a des questions dans la salle? Voilà. Le micro
N'hésitez
là-bas. N'hésitez pas, ils sont là pour vous.
Here it comes.
You talked about the battles that came later on after you finished the script. Can you talk a little more about what exactly happened? Because every one of us who's in the movie business knows that this is the point where often you get in trouble with the studio execs or other people who want to push their ideas through. So tell us a little more about that.
Well, there wasn't any like trouble. We didn't have like a fight, but this is also something that Guillermo talks about. He talks about one of his lessons was pick your battles because you're not going to win them all. You know, in the moment that you sign, the first conversation we had on the phone, and this is very funny because of course the studio people were there on the call, and he said after our conference call, he said, "Get ready, guys! You're about to be fucked by a major studio." After we all agreed on everything, he threw that message on the table, and those are the rules of the game, you know. And we accepted them, and then he has a philosophy about it, and he says you won't be able to win them all, so you have to pick your battles.
So which one did you lose?
I'm sorry?
Which ones did you lose?
Well, I lost a couple to Guillermo because he's another like big figure in it, and even though he's like a very respectful and he respects your instinct as a director, and he believes that the only way to tell a story is like following your the instinct of the creator. He likes to put his fingers on it, and of course there was a lot of notes from him, and he was open to discussion. And there's a couple of them that I could not win.
He's a notorious control freak when it comes to his movies.
Well, but this wasn't really his movie. He was very, very supportive, and the reason why we got this film made was because of him. So there's a dance that takes place between us and him and our distributor, and it has to happen because, you know, film, you want it or not, is a collective art. Unless, you know, you inherit a lot of money and decide to, you know, distribute and exhibit the film yourself, you're gonna have to compromise in certain aspects. And, you know, if you have to compromise with someone, you know, I'll be happy to compromise with Guillermo, who at least knows what he's doing. So.
Yeah, but going back to what are those? Maybe you want to know the details. Maybe you want to know the details.
Absolutely.
There is he's notoriously a fan of monsters, and he has no problem of you know showing monsters as he. And he was like very, very positive on that. We needed to see Mama the very first 5 minutes of the movie. My instinct was against that, and so we have 2 shots on the cabin when the crazy father is about to kill his daughter. You see Mama like coming from behind and like destroying him. So my original take on that was we would see Mama only through the eyes of the child, and she was like, you know, short-sighted, so she wouldn't see anything. It was like just a blurry thing, which is there in the movie. But before that, you see 2 shots where you see crystal clear of hands like clutching on Jeff, and there's another shot, a side shot where Mama lifts him in the air. And even though it's very fast, Mama is there, and there is a confirmation that there is a creature there. My instinct was always against that, but you know, it was one of those ones that I just couldn't win.
But finally, it works because I read that a lot of people liked the starting scene, the beginning of the film because of that. So
Well,
finally,
you
it
should have
was
seen the other one. It was much better. No, my concern was that, okay, it sort of deflates the mystery of what that is, even though you don't see it. I think it's in the right proportion. I don't think we are showing it too much. We were there with Guillermo watching it on the editing room, and I think, give it one more frame. No, give it one less. No, two more. It was like.
And what about special effects? Did you have to compromise on that too, on special effects? Because you see
Yes.
more than in the short film, and,
Yeah.
and it's like more CGI maybe?
Well, the thing is that
We had more money.
we had more money, and the thing, one of the reasons why we said yes to the big version of this studio and stuff, was because we would have more money to do it. And one very important concern for me was to have all the money possible to make Mama to explore with visual effects on her, which is something that I couldn't. I wasn't able to do in the short film. If you see the short film, it's like pretty cheap. It's just a woman.
It
pretty
was
scary
well done.
already.
It's less special effect. It's more like an actor and
Yeah.
stretching his body but it was still well done. But here, indeed, in the movie, it's more CGI, more. It's different.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that many people think that there's more CGI than there really is. That the Mama is always played by an actor, and it's all of Mama is practical. Of course,
Except for the hair.
Well, yeah, there's an element of hair that is not real. It's digital.
It floats more in the feature film than in the short. Short is really on the ground and moving.
Well, there was a problem.
But it works in both films. I really liked it.
Well, the problem is that you couldn't make it work like on the short film. You see 2 shots of it. Yeah. So you can get away with it, but in the movie you show Mama like 15 times, and with that technique it would have been like hell, because we shot the hair separately on the short film, and we tracked it to the head, So mostly you see like this layer that moves wherever his face is, but is not like very pro. So doing it digitally it provided us a more realistic way of doing it. And I'm happy with it. Of course, answering to your question, if I had to compromise, I had to compromise because you never get enough. It's always, you're always short on money. You want to do more and improve it and make more versions of it. It's basically a come and go between you and the house, the VFX house. And you send it back to the kitchen, and they do it again, and they send it, and it's wrong. And you send it back, and it's wrong. And one point they say, we have no more money. So this is it. It happens. I mean, and these guys were very flexible, we should say, Mr. X in Toronto. They did a lot of favors, but I don't know.
At some point they have to stop.
Yeah.
Well, and he's a perfectionist too, so he will drive people over the edge sometimes.
But with a smile.
It sounds like you experienced it.
No, never.
Est-ce qu'il y a encore des questions dans le public? Zijn er nog vragen? Oui, là.
The Rock.
Which were your principal inspirations for Mama, if you had directors to advise to see in your direction?
The inspiration for the story?
Yes, and for the movie in general.
Well, there was 2, like, let's say, points. One of them was I had this. It was sort of a dream that happened to me one morning, which was the seed of the short film. What you see in the short film is exactly what I had in mind that morning. It was unrational. And the other piece of inspiring piece was a video I watched when we were starting to flesh out the story. I ran into this video.
Chris sent it.
Yeah, Chris, our
associate
producer, lift your hand, please.
Stand up.
There she is.
Yay.
She sent me. It wasn't about it wasn't about the movie or anything, but she sent me this video, which was a National Geographic clip, which was about a leopard eating a baboon, a monkey. It was like a life in the savannah in Africa, and you see this leopard like killing the baboon, and then taking him to the top of a tree, and in the middle of the process, the baboon gives birth to a baby baboon. She's dead, but her baby is alive. So the leopard, he loses interest on the monkey, on the mother, and jumps on the baby, and instead of like attacking him or killing him, he starts to protect him. And then he takes him to the top of the tree and like get it away from the hyenas and everyone, and they start playing, you know. And this weird thing, which is like the instinct of protection instinct and an imprint, because that baby will think that thing is her mother. So that came in the right moment where we were like starting the story, and it said, of course, this is what it is. This is about two little girls that think that thing is their mother, but it's not.
Il y a encore des questions? Oh, oui.
Aha, that clears something up for me.
I'm sorry, I won't.
No, what you just said cleared something up for me. I wondered if you had any conflicts about killing one of the two girls and where that idea came from. But now you've basically given the answer, I think. The youngest girl has imprinted so much on the mama that there is no way to save her anymore, correct?
And she's not dead.
There is this nuance. Well, you will talk about that later. But this one of the interesting things of the drama of this movie is like that just a little gap in the age difference of the two little girls make that this, you know, the older girl had a past life, and when she is brought back to the city, she connects with this life between humans, and the other one is completely imprinted by mama. She doesn't know anything else. So it's it made a lot of sense for that ending. Even like it was tricky because we sort of tricked the audience into thinking that there is one scene where Annabelle is struggling with Lily after she saved her from like freezing, and they're like, it's like a heartbreaking moment where finally the little girl gives up, and they fall in love with each other, you know. So that it's a moment of connection where we sort of feel that Lily can be part of this family, but actually she's testing
the warmth.
Yeah, it's the warmth that she's impressed with, because she never had that. Yeah. But eventually she goes with her mama, which is mama.
Encore des questions? Voilà.
Rock.
So I was wondering, since well, you kind of already answered that question, but I guess
I can do it again.
Okay.
I can do this all night.
Well, let's do this. I was wondering, how do you go from a short film to, well, a short film that you said had no real purpose to suddenly have to write a feature film about it? Is that kind of freaky or?
Well, it was actually very exciting because it came out as a challenge, you know. It was something that you don't know you can get out of. I mean, because you raise the stakes in a piece, and you show it, and everybody say, "Oh, wow, this is intriguing," but you never thought how did you get there? And it happens to, I don't know. I mean, it's a very unorthodox way of doing a movie, because you normally start with a story, and not with a. We basically started a house from the roof, right? We decided from there to flesh a story out, to make that possible. And the funny thing is that when we started like writing the outline for the story, because of how it all started, all the things that we needed to make the story have sense, we never got to the roof. So we took the treatment to Guillermo, and he says, okay, that's great, but where is the chase scene? Where is the short film? Well, no, it's not there because,
We don't need it.
We don't
Doesn't
need it.
work.
Yeah, but in
Mama.
finally you put it in
Yeah.
the feature film
Well, 'cause
when they run in
he's very
the stairs and.
he can be very convincing. Yeah.
He he told us literally, okay, you keep the short out of the film and I'll keep your film in development for 10 years. So we said, okay, put it
No,
back
but
in.
it was actually it was a good thing because it was a reverse on the story that we never thought of. The girls being chased by Mama. It's a reverse of forces that was not in the story. The story used to be more linear before, and he said it has to be there. It has to be there.
Well, it brings a change in the feature film because indeed at the beginning the girls go to Mama, and at that point they run away.
Well, she turns bad.
Well, Mama is, is pure gut and emotion. I mean, they know that that's the way she is, and at that point she was jealous and furious, and she was a danger to all, so they were running from her.
Yeah, I was expecting that line actually. My mama has come back. I thought it was gonna come up at some point.
Yeah, that's funny because it's not. It didn't make it.
Yeah.
That line.
And then also the fish bowl. I was wondering
The fish bowl.
maybe there was going to be some more explanation about that.
In the show with the fish bowl, you think, man, what's gonna happen with the fish bowl?
Do you know what happens?
Nothing.
Do you know what happens to it?
It disappears.
Yeah, but
Because it disappears.
Magically.
When they run up, it's not there anymore. Of course, we added a
Continuity
crashing
trick.
sound because eventually it crashes and the poor fish dies.
Poor fish.
Est-ce qu'il y a encore des questions dans le public? Anyone have another question? Yeah.
Compound question about the girls. First off, the ending kind of felt like an ending and still it didn't. I wasn't at all convinced that the girl would die, really. So it seemed like that was maybe a purposeful open end because it is multi-interpretable. So I was wondering if the chances of maybe making a sequel kind of stuck in your head and was one of the reasons why you chose that ending. And also a lot of directors I know are kind of hesitant to use young girls or young boys in their films, not so much because of the acting, but more because of the documents involved and the paperwork and permissions you have to get, etc. So did you run into that at all, or did everything go really smooth?
Well, we tried it with dwarfs in the beginning, but it was problematic.
Midgets.
Both drunk. We were having trouble. We worked a lot with kids, and we've been doing commercials for 12 years, and I think we had Andy has a lot of experience directing kids. I have a lot of experience hiring children. I run a factory also in
Of children?
Child labor. Come on. What's so bad about it?
No. But you have to be very, very careful casting children. I think that's essential. Then it's a box of surprises, but you have to be very aware of tiny little signs of trouble that you can't have in a commercial that lasts 2 days of shoot. You definitely cannot have in a film that shoots in 3 months.
No, there's a lot of regulations. Of course, you have to respect. Like they can't be there for more than 8 hours, and there's like 2 hours that they have to go to school, and there is a school there. Wherever you are, there is a trailer with a school and a teacher. And
Stage tutor. It's that.
yeah,
Yes, it's,
that's stage tutor, and you have to play with those rules, and you have and the minute that the clock says it, you lost the girls, and that's it.
We had body doubles for both girls, and for the little kids in the beginning, the babies were twins, so we kept on switching them. And then we had 2 more body doubles for them. So we had a lot of kids. And when the clock ran out, it's goodbye, see you guys tomorrow, and bring the next ones. And Andy put the camera somewhere else.
Yeah, but it's not a reason to not to really. I mean, there's a lot of down to it, but there's it shouldn't be a reason not to write stories with kids, because if you need that that intensity, that kind of story, you just do it. Don't think about it.
I don't know actually, but it's important. We don't know about the laws in Belgium. Maybe they're a lot stricter. In Canada, they're workable. You have with
stricter
kids.
than in Canada.
Yeah, no.
I don't think so.
You never know. Well, in Italy until 2 years ago, you could not shoot commercials with kids. You could show commercials with kids, which meant that Italian production houses had to go abroad to shoot commercials, but you couldn't use Italian kids. So it depends on the country's regulations.
And then, of course, it's about casting. You have to find, make sure that they will work, and there won't be surprises.
But Guillermo del Toro said in an interview that children loves to play in horror films,
Oh, yeah.
but at the same time it's difficult to understand, because some scene can be very spooky, especially with very young kids.
Yeah, but
how you manage that?
Well, the first thing is all the only spookiness about the movie was Mama, because the other spooky things is them as like feral children. But they weren't exposed to that because they were playing it. So basically what we did was they met the actor. I didn't want to like traumatize them or anything. So we were very like conscious of, this guy who is like 7 foot and he's like thin as a very skinny. And he's pretty creepy, he's a creepy guy.
No, but he's creepy in makeup. If you see him clothed, and he's super funny, and he's
he's a great guy, but he's creepy and he knows it and he loves to be creepy. And the moment he showed up in the set, everyone was like, because he's really imposing and he has like proportions that are not real. I saw this guy in the movie called Wreck. You might remember.
Wreck, yeah.
And the first time I didn't know it was played by a guy, and I thought it was CG. So I understand that people like still look at when they see Mama and think that he's not played by an actor. But anyway, so they met the actor. They had fun, over lunch and stuff, and so they were like very used to him before he came out as
start to be spooky.
Yeah, but it's also adrenaline. The kids like that.
No, and also you're on set. Okay, you have the right lighting and everything, but you have an 80 people crew, so kids are not scared because they're not alone. It's more scary for them, I think, to watch the film. So I rather they don't watch the film, but shooting it itself is not really scary.
Encore des questions?
You were about to say something before, but oh yeah, the ending.
Sequel, yeah.
The ending was not at all prompted by the preconception of a sequel, not at all. Even now, I'm not a fan of thinking of a sequel. It was like it was just the ending that had to be, Lily goes with her mama, and no, it was. I understand that notion that you could think that that maybe this was made for a sequel, but I understand studios think that way too, and it was like for the studio was exciting because it's funny that it's not an ending that normal like historically a studio would be okay with. The girl dies at the end. It's like nothing. But on the other hand, they I think they saw the other possibility, which is
making more money.
Make a franchise.
Et encore une question là. J'ai vu au deuxième rang. Je sais pas où est le micro. Le micro a disparu? Ah voilà, voilà.
here it
Il
is.
arrive, il arrive. Ici devant.
No? Yes? Okay. There is all these scenes in the movie with the closet. Did you do this because it was just convenient to scare the audience? Or maybe is it some kind of remembrance of you as a child being afraid of the boogeyman in the closet?
It's a good question. I wasn't scared of the closet. I was scared more like under the bed. That's why my bed doesn't have legs anymore. But the closet was sort of like picking a common place in like horror imaging of childhood and put it there. And it has a double take because it basically stands for the two like very concrete moments where Annabelle has to face her fears, and one of them she chickens out, she backs away when she closes the door, and when she's confronted again with that, she opens it and she goes through, and she doesn't see anything, but Mama is there, but she doesn't see anything, but it's a scare. So anyway, that's a way. That's a little thread in the story that sort of reflects on her approach to facing the fear, and that's why it is. Yeah, but I'm scared I am scared of beds and what's underneath the beds, as many of you, I assume. No, the closet is yeah. Yours the closet. I don't know. I heard a story. I think my aunt told me a story about like a hand like coming out from underneath the bed like many years ago when I was a child, and it stuck with me forever.
There's a script that we read called Crawling Space, and Now You'll Never Sleep Again. But it's based on a true story about a woman living in like a hole in a closet for about 5 years, and she would come out while the guy would go to work. Finally, they found her, but she was living in the closet for 5 years. So
in the closet and behind the walls, right?
yeah,
that's creepy.
Interesting. So it's one of the next projects.
No.
No.
We're gonna leave closets alone for a little bit. We're working on a couple projects, trying to find what's the next right one.
And can you tell us more about those projects?
We don't know. Right now we're in negotiations to work on a novel that hasn't come out yet called Bird Box. But that needs a lot of work. It's still a novel, so we need a script, and that's not our next movie. That's something for, I think, the future. And regarding the immediate projects we are writing right now, 2 projects. One is a supernatural thriller. The other one is a sci-fi comedy. And we're reading a lot right now. We're reading a lot of scripts, trying to figure out. It's nerve-wracking to find your next project. It's a lot of pressure.
It seems that you're gonna keep working together, no matter what.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shitty business. It really, Guillermo on the first conversation also told us it's. Making a movie is eating a shit sandwich. So the bread changes, and inside it's harder. You can spread it a bit more, but it's also it's always a shit sandwich. It's a difficult process. Any kind of movie, it doesn't matter if it's a blockbuster, if it's an art exercise. It's difficult because it's collective. So. If you have an ally, a true unconditional ally, I think it makes the process easier. And we have very defined, we write together, which is the part, that we do together, but then he directs and I produce, and he's very much a director and I'm very much a producer, so there's no toe stepping. We support each other.
Encore des questions?
There's more questions? Yeah, otherwise I think it's probably time we wrap it up.
You want to go to bed?
No, I don't want to go to bed. If you have more
There are
stories.
3 more movies.
So there's still a long night ahead.
To say goodbye,
maybe one question.
Yeah.
You said a little bit earlier that, in fact, when you grew up, you had the same taste and you used to watch same stuff. So, what are the films that influenced you the most?
Well, you can talk about filmic influence, but actually, I think because what you are trying to do when you make a horror movie is like feel or try to make other people feel what you like, refloat that feeling that you had as a child watching horror movies. And I think the very first experience for us, like horrific experience in a movie theater, was Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which was not precisely a horror movie, but we lived it as a horror movie because we were like 4 and 5 years old. It was a drive-in, so people could drive in with their children on the back. So that was quite horrifying, but at the same time, it was a very magical experience, very magical. And it was like, that was no coincidence, I think, that we ended up doing this. And then the other, we've seen like there was on TV, we saw every kind of shit like regarding horror movies. There was this TV show every Saturday night, which was hosted by an actor who specialized in horror movies, Spanish actor, but living in Argentina. So in that show, he would host like every kind of movie. Like there would be like TV movies, American, like Night of the Scarecrow. That was very like creepy for us. Then we would have every kind of Hammer production. We would look at them all.
Roger Corman production and stuff like
Roger
that.
Corman.
Vincent Price.
We've seen like movies like I told you before, Night of the Scarecrow. The Omega Man was a big shock for us, but it was a fascinating experience. The Manitou, which was like
Manitou,
ridiculously
based
bad,
on a book.
but still, yeah, it was about this. The Omega Man, as I said before, the Illustrated Man, different kinds of movies.
The Hand.
And especially Trilogy of Terror, which was a movie made of 3 parts with Karen Black. And there was one special episode, the last episode, which was about an African doll. Maybe you guys know what it is. But it was the creepiest thing. It was an African doll that would chase Karen Black around the house with a meat knife. It was like very, very creepy. So that was the beginning. Then other movies came. Movies like Poltergeist and The Entity.
But it was our favorite thing. It was waiting for Saturday night to watch those crappy films, and they would put one. I mean, they're crappy, but they're great at the same time. It's just you get addicted to the scare. You want that. So
there was this other movie that was definitely a landmark, which was the Howling, which is a werewolf.
The Howling. Yeah.
Movie. I think I was 10 and you were 12 or something. We went to this crappy movie theater in Uruguay, and we were like, especially on the transformation scene where the werewolf first on the doctor's office by the woods. It was something that I'd never seen before, even though I had seen, I think, the American Werewolf in London was a bit of a comedy, but
But the transformation scene is one of the best
Yeah,
now.
But the Howling.
No, the Werewolf in London.
I like the Howling more because it's darker, it's creepier, and it's like it has this thing in the darkness that was like very very shocking. The rest of the movie, you see it now, and it sort of it grew a little old, but you see that scene, and it's still like mind blowing. And
it still works on you.
Yes. Well, it's Rob Bottin, you know. He did that magnificent. He's a visionary, magnificent work on that movie, and then on The Thing, the John Carpenter one, which was way ahead of its time, you know.
It was Rob Bottin, huh?
Rob Bottin,
who did
yeah.
the special effects.
Yeah, amazing.
Amazing.
So those are a bunch of movies that we're really impressed by. And then other movies that were not horror, but like Black Stallion or The Clash of the Titans, the original, Chariots of
Peplum
Fire.
movies.
What?
Peplum movies.
Peplum.
Yes, I love Peplum. One day.
Well, I think we're going to hand the Q&A here, unless you have another question.
No, I think they're waiting to have their posters signed, and Freddie, I see Freddie standing there.
The
So
Don
there
Coscarelli
will be this
film.
signing. So we would just have to thank you. It was a very nice
Thank
movie,
you.
very nice conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank
and thank you
you.
guys for
Thanks for
coming.
coming.
And
Thank you.
if you are filmmakers, just like keep doing it.
And
until it
hire
comes
children.
out.
Your
Hire
duty is not
children.
over, because now it's time for signatures and pictures for people who want to
The
come.
best part.
Yes.
This is for the university. Yes. You disappeared. I guess that's what you want. Perfect. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Sinon, ils vont sinon, ils vont être coincés avec ça pendant. Mais des Michel Barbara en segment. Peut-être que c'est moi,
On peut faire la photo.
Ah oui, c'est vrai. Is this good or not? C'est bien.
It's the first day. It's one of the first times in my life I feel little. I know. I'm not used to it. Well, you should see this guy. You should see how he has actually really?
Yeah.
At my home. Nice to watch. Okay.
Can you? Also, that's why it's so thin. And last but not least, our friend Michael is in It's 3 in Belgium. I got also picture.
It's my first Belgian kiss in a while.
Mais he's one of you both. Mais il est tout le temps derrière, je sais pas, non, mais derrière, quand il vient de faire pareil. C'est bien. Julie? Ouais. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it looks like it. So you use it for the original signed by the artist, Skeleton. And it's number 90.
In 20 years, people say I was.
Muchas gracias. Nada. Todo bien. Mañana, ahora está un poco. I have some photographs and posters, maybe. Okay.
I wouldn't want to modify my conversion.
Bien sûr.